Hello everyone, welcome back to our ongoing series on ethics, integrity and human aptitude. In our last class, we have studied or we have discussed about the syllabus of the subject. Okay, so in this lecture, we will try to know what is ethics. First, we will take a look into the definition and then we will try to understand what does it actually means to us, right? So later on, we will understand the key elements of the definition. Okay. So the term ethics is derived from the Greek word ethos, which means custom, habit, character, or disposition, right? So ethics is a set of standards that a society places on itself. That means ethics are a set of guidelines, okay, that a society places on itself, which help us guide the rightness and wrongness of a deliberate human action for attainment of ultimate happiness, right? So in a layman term, these ethics are the set of guidelines that the society sets, right? So these guidelines are there in order to maintain harmony in the society, right? Now if an individual follows these guidelines, right, or follows these standards, he will be called as ethically good, right? But if he violates these standards or these guidelines that are set by the society, then he may be called as social evil, or he may be wrong in his ethics, right? Okay, before going deep into this topic, let's understand what does a society mean, right? So a society is a group of people with common beliefs, values and practices, right? Now, geographically, a society is not confined to a smaller area. Okay, so we cannot say a society in terms of a town or a district or a state. So, its definition is at the national level, right? For example, we say an Indian society, right? Or we say an American society, right? And for example, both these society are different, right? Because in the Indian society we have our own beliefs, own values, own practices, right? And in the American society, their practices and their beliefs are different from us, right? Okay, now some of you may question that when we say about an Assamese society, or we say about an Bengali society, okay, actually this term is a misinterpretation. Okay, so this will be actually a community. Okay, we never say an Assamese society, we always say an Assamese community or an Bengali community, right? Okay, now there is an exception in the definition of the society, right? For example, if there is any tribe, okay, which is completely secluded from the rest of the world, right, then the tribe can be called as a society. Why? Because since they are totally secluded from the world, so their set of cultures or their set of beliefs are different from the rest of the world, right? Now, for example, you can cite the Sentinelese and Jarawas tribe of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, right? So these tribes, although they are very few in their numerical strength, for example, the Jarawas are said to be of only 14 in number, but in spite of their less figure or in spite of their less numerical strength, they can be called a society because their set of beliefs and practices are completely secluded from the rest of the world, right? Again, the next important term here is that of human actions. Okay, so there is a difference between actions of human and human actions, right? Now, when we say about actions of human, so every other thing that we perform, let's say for example, we sleep, we eat, we drive, etc., right? So these are all actions of human. But in order to call an action to be human action, it should have three basic elements. That is, number one, knowledge, then voluntariness in carrying out that action, then free will. Okay, I'm repeating again. there is a difference between human action and actions of human, right? So in order to call an action as human action, it should basically fulfill the three basic elements, right? They are knowledge, voluntariness, and free will. Okay, now you can understand this from an example. Let's consider you want to go to your office from your home to office, and for this you have two modes of communication. Okay, that is a cycle, or or a car, right? Now both this mode of communication has their own criteria or their own advantages. Okay, for example, if you travel by cycle, then it is good for your health, right? It is good for your health, as well as it is good for your good for the environment, right? And if you travel by the car, then you will reach the office soon, or in rainy seasons it is more favorable to travel in a car. That means you as a person or as an individual have knowledge of these both mode of communication, right? Next comes when we talk about voluntariness. Now when you pick up the cycle to go to your office, so this is your voluntary action, right? Now this action is you are considering of going to the office by bicycling, and this decision is your voluntary action. No one is forcing you to carry out this action, right? So again, this falls under human action, right? Then other is free will of choice. Okay, so again you consider you want to go to the office by your cycle, right? But you have a friend with you, and he forces you to travel to the office with the car. Okay, so in spite of your wish to travel in the cycle, you are now going in the car, right? Now this type of action is not voluntariness, or this type of action is against the free will of your choice, right? So in ethics you will evaluate an action whether it is ethical or unethical only if it is a human action. Okay, now when you say human action, that means it should fulfill all the three basic elements, that is knowledge, voluntariness, or free will of choice. Now consider this example. Okay, so if someone blackmails you to forcefully do a work, right? If someone blackmails you to forcefully do a work, even if the work is bad in the societal norms, right? But it will not be considered as unethical since it is not in human action. Are you getting my point? See, when you are doing an work that is unethical in terms of society, okay, or it is not accepted by the society, but you are forcefully doing this work because someone is threatening you to do this work. Okay, so such type of action is cannot be termed as an ethical or unethical. Why? Because since it is not an human action, you see, you are only performing an action, but it is not an human action. Why? Because while performing this action, you don't have your voluntariness or your free will of choice, right? That means it already violates the criteria of calling an action as human action, right? See, we have already said that in order to call an human action, all the three elements must be there. That is knowledge, voluntariness, and free will of choice. Okay. Now the example that we have discussed there, the 2 points are missing, right? Or the 2 elements are missing. That is the voluntariness and free will of choice is missing. Okay. So that's why this action cannot be termed as ethical or unethical, because it does not come under the definition of an human action. Okay, so thus what we have understand is that ethics lie in the domain of what is right and wrong. Okay, so these right and wrong are determined by the society. Okay, so society has set certain guidelines. Okay, and these guidelines are set by the society and on the society itself. Okay, and society obviously comprises of individuals, right? So ethics are kind of guidelines on the basis of which you can decide what is right or what is wrong if it is an human action. Okay, now these standards may be prescribed by a particular group. Okay, earlier we have discussed about society. Okay, now this may not be confined to a particular society. Okay, for example, this group or this ethics may differ from an organization to organization, okay, which we call as organizational ethics. Then it may differ to various professions, we call it professional ethics, right? Okay, so that means when a group of people makes an consensus means a common understanding. When a group of people makes a consensus, that is set of values that they make a consensus that certain set of values are good. Okay, then it is called an ethics, right? So ethics is always about when consensus is arrived. Okay, that means you should have a common standard or common understanding. Okay, for example, if earlier one may justify his actions as right or wrong. Okay, so this is his subjective decision or his individual decision. Okay, but his actions, if does not mean the consensus of the greater society. Okay, so this may not be called as an ethical action, right? For example, if a man tries to justify a murder that he has committed. Okay, but the society has already set a guideline as that murder is unethical for the society. So no matter how much a person justifies his action, it will be called as unethical in the societal norms, right? Similarly, on the professional front, and certain type of professional ethics is maintained is that there must be honesty in your profession. Okay, corruption must be avoided, right? Now, if you violate these professional ethics and you take bribes from others, okay, you become corrupted, then you will be called as unethical, or you will be called as what? Social evil, right? Again, there are some organizations whose core value is controlling the pollution, or they are working for environment, right? Now, as an employee of that organization, if you are violating those ethics of that particular organization, then you will be called as ethically wrong in that norms of that organization, right? Okay, so thus ethics overall helps us in covering the following dilemmas. Dilemmas means confusions. Okay, so ethics are the guidelines that help us in how to live a good life, right? Then our rights and determining our rights and responsibilities, right? Then to select which languages are right or which languages are wrong, right? Then moral decisions, what is good and what is bad. Okay, so all these things that we say ethics can be influenced, or ethics is influenced from our religion, from our philosophies, from our cultures, right? For example, if we say that from society to society ethics is different. Okay, in the Indian society, okay, we respect our elders. Okay, we never call our elders by their name. Okay, if we call the elders by their name, then we will be called as unethical, right? Our action is unethical. But the same is not the case in the American society. Okay, there you can see that the younger ones call the elder ones by their name. Okay, but in their society they are not considered as unethical, right? That means the things that you say as ethical or unethical differs from society to society, because each society has their own customs, okay, their own religions that influence the ethics, right? Their own philosophies, right? Or their own cultures. Okay, So overall, you can summarize ethics as ethics are the standard. Okay, so ethics put reasonable restrictions on the human actions. That means what to do or what to not do, or what is wrong or what is bad, right? So if anyone violates these standards, then that individual will be called as social evil, right? So ethics are always to avoid social evils. Okay, so before ending the lecture, what we have understand is that ethics are nothing but these are the guidelines set by a particular society or a particular organization, right? And these guidelines should not be violated. Okay, these guidelines should be followed. Okay, in order to lead a good life in the terms of society. Okay, if you violate these guidelines, then you will be called a social evil. Okay, so thank you for watching today's video. So in tomorrow's class we will discuss, does ethic changes, and if it changes, how it changes. Okay, then we will discuss, does ethics and morality are same. Okay, so if you like this class, kindly subscribe to this channel.